Hello everybody, it's Jenn, Scrapbena Creations. Welcome back to my channel, and for those of you who are stopping by for the first time, welcome. I'm doing a 10 Easter card video using one paper pad, the Doodlebug Easter Express, and one stamp set, which is Tailored Expressions Peekaboo Easter. These are new for the 2017 Easter release. So moving on to card 1, I am going to be stacking the little images on top of each other. So I just used a Lawn Fawn Stitched Hill border here to cut out some grass, and the background paper is an adorable image of all of the little critters in the Doodlebug Easter Express collection. So I did pre-color all the images so that this video would go a little bit quicker. And I will link the coloring video that goes along to this if you're interested. So I'm going to be using some fun foam here just so that there's good coverage on the back to give it a little bit of height from the card base. So that's really easy to do. I do like to use my ATG gun just so that it's nice and strongly adhered to both the card panel and the card base. And this really protects it from anything that might happen while it's mailed. So I'm just going to quickly put this onto the card base and get that nice and centered. This is a stitched frame border from My Favorite Things. It's a Blueprints die, and I like how it just leaves the white border around the card panel. So I'm just going to use some glossy accents here for some finishing details. So I'm going to use it on the beak and the feet of the chick and on the heart. And then once I have that done, I'm going to move to the little nose on the bunny, and card number 1 is finished. So moving on to card number 2, I am using a fancy scalloped stitched die here from Lawn Fawn. That's the one that cuts out the green pattern paper that you see. Then I just used a circle die, and I'm using some 3M foam tape to make sure that that is good and covered as well, so that it pops up from the back panel. I like to make sure that I adhere my card panel down as much as possible from the beginning, especially if I'm having dimensional elements. I know some people wait till the very end, but I like to build my cards as I go. I just find it easier to put everything together. So this card here is using only the little bunny image, which is so stinking cute. So I'm going to put him or her front and center right there. And I just like to use my stamp block just to make sure that the image is nice and adhered to whatever I'm adhering it to. So this is a banner from the Lawn Fawn 3x4 journaling card, and I'm just using my stamping tool here to make sure that I get the sentiment exactly where I want it. I'm using some VersaFine ink here, and I'm going to stamp it 2 times, and this sentiment is actually from the My Favorite Things Somebody I Love stamp set. It is the exact same stamp set or stamp sentiment that comes in the kit, but it is spelt out lengthwise, which I really wanted for this card. You could mask off the one that comes in the stamp set that I'm using from Tailored Expressions if you would like. So I'm just heat embossing this using some clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to back the fishtail banner onto some Michael's 120 or 110 pound cardstock just to give it a little bit of a background so it stands out from the green paper print that I'm using on the card. Just going to trim that up, and then it will be ready to be put on the card. And I am going to pop this up as well just so that it matches the circle element with the little bunny on it. So I tried to make all of these cards pretty simple, seeing I was doing 10 of them, but I think it just shows you that with really cute images and paper, you don't need a lot of fancy stuff on the card. Now, as I'm saying that, moving into card 3 is a little bit more elaborate. So I'm just showing you that I cut one of the stamps apart just because I find it's easier to use them as opposed to masking, but I know some people don't like cutting their stamps, so you can go ahead and just mask it. And I'm using a piece of green paper from my stash, and I just use the Lawn Fawn Grassy Borders die to cut out a grassy piece. And then I'm going to stamp this, and I'm going to stamp this a couple times as well, just to make sure I have a nice crisp image. I do really like strong black sentiments on my cards. So I'm going to clean that up using my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois, and then I'm going to adhere that down to the card panel. And I'm going to use my ATG, and the reason why I didn't flip it over was because the VersaFine does take a little bit longer to dry, and I find this is a cheaper kind of no-name piece of scrapbook paper, and so I find it can smudge easily. So I just wanted to make sure I put the adhesive to the card panel. So I'm going to be using a bunch of the colorful eggs a bunch of the eggs that I colored prior to the video, and I will list the stamp colors in the description box below. I'm using alcohol markers for all of these images today, so either my Spectrum Noir or Copics. I usually use a combination of both. So here I'm just going to get that card panel adhered down to the card base, so that as I start building up my scene here, I don't have to worry about potentially crinkling it when I go to adhere the images. And for some reason I decided to stick the chick down, and then I remembered, wait a second, I wanted to make sure that the chick was on top of the pile of eggs. So you saw me rip that back up carefully so that nothing was damaged on the paper. And here I'm just using a bunch of the eggs to make a little egg scene here. So as if the chick has gathered up a bunch of Easter eggs and is kind of sitting on its mountain of eggs in pride. And so the sentiment is you are egg-exceptional. And I think that card is just adorable. So moving on to card number 4, I'm going to be using this plaid pattern that comes in the Doodlebug Easter Express 6x6 paper pad. And I just want to show you that you can use elements of the paper pad for design ideas. So I liked how there was 4 little boxes, and there were 2 of the same images twice. So I'm using 2 of the chicks and 2 of the sheep. And I just cut out using a square stitched die, which I believe is from Simon Says Stamp. I'm just going to put those down as the little backdrop for my images. And one each of the pair of little cutie critter images, one will be a little girl and one will be a little boy. And I am using a bow die it's actually from the Lawn Fawn Trim the Tree set, and it worked out perfectly for these cute little images. So here's one of the little chick images, and here's the little girl one that I'm going to put down in that corner, and there you can see I'm putting the little pink bow on her. And then the little boy sheep and the little girl sheep will go on the top right hand corner. And I'll put a little bow on her as well. So I thought, given it was Easter, I would color the little sheep images using pinks and blues, just to give it something a little extra and cuteness for the Easter season. So that card is done, and we're moving on to card number 5, halfway through. So thanks for sticking with me if you're still watching this video. So I'm just using a piece of paper from my stash. This is a lined piece of pink paper with white, and it has lines on it and then little white polka dots. I just wanted something to back this panel here, which is the adorable chick paper from the paper pad. And I'm going to be using the chick image as the center focal point for this card. I'm going to do some heat embossing again, and this sentiment says, "You're one of my favorite peeps." So I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I'm using some clear embossing powder. And then I'm just going to trim up the sentiment here. This is an old Creative Memories paper trimmer that I've had for 10 plus years, and it still works like it did the day I bought it, and I use it all the time. I love it. I understand they have new ones out now. I'll need to get one in case this one ever breaks down on me. So this is just a panel, and it is the Michael's 110-pound cardstock, and I've gone ahead and just colored the image up prior to the video, and you could actually just leave this as is. I think it looks super cute, just with the image on the circle flat on the card. And as you saw there for this sentiment, I just use a corner rounder just to give that sentiment a little bit more of a different look to it. And now I'm going to be using a mini action wobble to pop up the other image that I've cut and colored separately. And then this is an action wobble card, which I think turned out really cute. So moving on to card number 6. This card I am going to be using a piece of paper, again, that plaid paper. I do like this one because it brings in all the colors that I'm using in the images, so it just frames that nicely. This is a fishtail banner on both sides. This is from the blueprints set from My Favorite Things that I'm using. And again, just a piece of pink paper from my stash. And I'm using one of the Put a Bow on It dies from Lawn Fawn to put a little bow here. Now this paper is only one-sided, this pink paper, so you can see the white on the inside, but it doesn't really bother me. If you don't like to see the white, then you can use a piece of paper that is double-sided. So there's the little bow there. I'm just using my scissors to make sure that it is adhered down well. I used the mini bling zots, and now I'm going to be putting some eggs down, and I'm going to be using the little sheep as the image for this card, and I just want to make sure that I'm tucking the eggs behind the that fishtail banner there, which is like the ribbon for the bow. I want to make sure that the eggs are behind that and not sitting in front. And then I'm going to pop up the little sheep with some foam adhesive, which I get the big roll from Amazon.ca, and it's the 3M brand. I love it. It's the perfect thickness for sending cards in the mail. So I'm just playing again with more of the eggs just to get them into the shape that I want. And then for this card, I'm going to be using some bling dots from my stash, trying to use those up, and they are from Michael's. They are a bit older. Moving on to card number 7. So using the same fishtail banner here from the My Favorite Things blueprint die set, and I'm using the sentiment again from My Favorite Things Somebody I Love, but again, you can use the one that comes in the stamp set. You just need to mask it off, and I used VersaFine ink here again, and then heat embossed it off screen so that you didn't have to watch me do that, because you've seen me do that before. So using that pink paper as a background paper for the card, and then I made a sort of window panel here, so I just used a oval die, and I've backed it all with the 3M foam adhesive, wanting to make sure that has good coverage so that it doesn't get creased in the mail. And so I'm going to be putting the elements inside the little ovals for this card. And I just wanted to make sure that the inside panel was a piece of the colorful patterned paper. If I was to do this again, I wouldn't cut the inside panel as an oval. I would have just had it as a rectangle, and then you wouldn't be able to see anything around the inside of the panel, but that's okay. So I'm going to adhere the sentiment banner here, and then I'm going to just do some placement here. I'm wanting to put the eggs, and then because the sentiment here says "You're somebody I love," I'm using 2 of the bunny images, a little girl bunny and a little boy bunny. And I think they look just adorable. And then I'm putting 1 more egg in the center of those, so there's 3. When you use images in odd numbers, it tends to be more appealing to the eye, so you might want to keep that in mind while you're designing your cards. I'm going to put a little bow on her again, and I decided to use a yellow one so it would tie in with the yellow egg, and then a little green heart here from the Blueprints die from My Favorite Things. And I end up putting a second one over top because the glue made it a little bit crinkly, but that card turned out really cute as well. So on to card 8, and I'm using the pink pattern, it's not even pattern, the pink paper from my stash again as a backdrop. And then I'm using that plaid colorful paper to do a rectangle down the side, a long rectangle. And then I used my stitched scallop borders from Lawn Fawn with a piece of the blue paper that comes in the Doodlebug paper kit. And I'm going to be using kind of a circle pattern here with the different images. So I had cut out some of that green paper, and I'm using a circle die for those, and they are from Simon Says Stamp. And I wanted to make it look like the little bunny was sitting on grass or standing on grass. So that's the first image I'm going to be using. And then I cut out the little chick pattern paper for the one that the little chick is going to be sitting on, and 1 egg with that one because the circle is smaller here. And then for the smallest circle, I'm using the sentiment, and it says sending smiles, and I put a little heart using the Lawn Fawn pink plastic flamingo mini cube ink. And that sentiment is from the Love Letters Lawn Fawn stamp set. I needed something small enough to fit into that circle. You could use anything there in order to put the sentiment on that you want. So now I'm just trying to figure out placement, and if I want the bigger circle to be on the top or bottom, and I went with the bottom, and then having the little chick in the top right hand corner and the sentiment in the middle of the 2. And then I'm trying to decide here if I want to do anything else. So I do a little bit of white gel pen dot detailing here. So I'm putting some dots on the inner circles of that egg, and then I'm using some lines on this egg here just to look like they've been decorated a little bit more. So you can have fun with these images for sure and decorate them however you want. And that card is complete. So on to card number 9. I'm going to be using my tumbled glass distress ink here, and I cut out a template. This is using the stitch cloud border from Lawn Fawn, and I just cut it out of Michael's 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to be using the tumbled glass distress ink to make a cloud sky background for this particular card, and I think it turned out really cute. The effect of making the background with the cloud stencil and distress ink, I think gives it a really beautiful, fun, soft look. So there's the background, and I'm using a piece of the pattern paper on the bottom just to bring some more color and fun to the card. And then again, I use the Lawn Fawn grassy border die here to give a little bit of grassy background standing out from the back. And I'm going to adhere that panel down, just making sure to leave room at the top so that I can tuck some images behind without them getting stuck to the adhesive. So that's the main design of this card. I'm using the Somebody Loves You sentiment here. This is the one from the Tailored Expressions Peekaboo Easter stamp set, so it is really cute. and I just wanted to have that in the bottom right hand corner. And then I'm going to start positioning my eggs and figuring out where I want them to go, and then where my bunny is going to end up. So I'm going to tuck that one behind the grass, and then this one as well. And figuring out, I want that one in front of the grass, so I'm just going to tuck that between the grass and the pattern piece of paper. And then I am going to use some foam adhesive for the bunny so that she stands up a little bit more. So now I'm just going to glue that panel onto my card base. And all of my card bases are from Joann. They're pre-made card bases. I just get them when they're on sale. Using my Spectrum Noir glitter brush marker here in clear just to give some sparkle to this card, and then adding a little pink bow to the top of her ear. I'm going to use some enamel dots as additional accents. Just was trying to use up stuff that I've had in my stash. And card number 9 is done. So moving on to card number 10, the last card. I am going to be using the Fancy Stitch scallop borders from Lawn Fawn again, using this adorable pattern paper. This is just a cut apart from the Doodlebug paper pad, and I actually don't have a stamp that says Happy Easter, so I use the cut apart instead, and I'm using my Spectrum Noir glitter brush marker just to add some glitter to the sentiment to give it a little bit of extra something. And then I'm going to lay down some of the eggs. These are all I had left, so I was trying to make them all work. And again, I want to make sure I have all 3 of the images on this card, and I think it turned out really cute as well. Very simple here, using the cut apart as a sentiment. So using some bling dots here again for some additional kind of accessories, or whatever the word is, just to make that card a little more interesting to look at, and some glitter of course, and there are the 10 cards. So I'm just going to show them here one by one. I think when I did this I forgot to lay down a card, but I do have all 10 of the cards in still shots at the end of the video. So if you have a favorite, please let me know. I would love to read your comments and see which one you like the most. I'm not sure which one. I really like the chick one, but they all are really cute because the paper and the stamp set itself are just adorable. So thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the first time I have done a 10 card process video, so if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to see more card videos, haul videos, and different types of paper crafting videos. So take care everybody, have a great day, and have a wonderful Easter if you celebrate that holiday. Bye!